Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Entitled Aunt tries to use my parents to steal from me. After that, am I the jerk for telling my brother to move out when he objected to me having a baby? And after that, so my hair isn't acceptable? Let's see about that. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to steal from anyone. You always ruin my plans. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Entitled Aunt tries to use my parents to steal from me. Now, I honestly never thought that my parents would be stupid to be caught like this. They've never done anything like this to my other siblings, but hey, this incident happened because my aunt decided to lie and tried to steal from me. So a few years back, I moved out of the family home and bought my own home. Nice little place I could call my own and do my own crazy ideas that I couldn't really get away with. Naturally, I had given my parents a spare key, just in case there was an emergency or I forgot to return something. Now, after a while of living on my own and saving a few quid here and there, I managed to get my gaming room / nerd cave all set up. Me and my old man built a custom desk so I could have my Xbox, my computer, and my Switch. It's not a fancy setup like I've seen online, but I love it. Even more that the desk is mine. There are a few wobbly cuts. Paint's not dried like I thought it would, but it's perfect to me. So naturally, after finishing it and testing it, making sure that things were in reach when I sat down, I had to show off. So a few pictures were taken and shared online, because the internet is mainly for bragging and showing off. I had a message from my aunt saying that as I'm an adult, I shouldn't be playing silly games and that I should give her kids the Switch. Naturally, I said no, but I promised if I got bored with it, I will message her offspring the first chance to buy it. I don't think she approved as she left me on red. That all happened at the start of the year, but then everything started and I thought nothing more of it. Now, after most of the year being on furlough, restrictions are easing off and I'm back at the office working. The other day, I get a phone call from my mom. She's at my place with my auntie to pick up the Switch I had promised to my cousins. Now, I had let a friend of mine borrow it because him and his wife were thinking about one and wanted to try it. I told my mom, just wait, I'm finishing in a few minutes and I'll be there. I get home and sure enough, I see Mom's car and Auntie's car. I burst through the door and made Mom and Auntie jump. Me looking at my aunt. What do you think you're doing here? Aunt, I'm here for that Switch. You said I could have it. Me, I said if I get rid of it, I'll sell it to you. Mom, you told me you bought it off of him. Me, well, it ain't here. Aunt, well, I'll take the other thing. I started walking to her before Mom calmed me down. Me, get out now, and I never want to see your face here. If I do, I'm phoning the police. Aunt quickly left and Mom started apologizing to me and told me how Aunt said she bought it off of me, but it said that we were struggling to organize a time for her to pick it up. I looked at her and all I could say was, I want my spare key back. Now I'm being bombarded by my sister and brother about how I made Mom cry, but I asked them, how would you like it if Mom was going through your stuff and giving away your expensive crap? Speaking of Switch, what's better, the Xbox or the Switch? Please let us know. Neither. PC gaming for the win. Am I the jerk for telling my brother to move out when he objected to me having a baby? I'm 26, female, and 7 months pregnant. The dad won't be involved, but I have a girlfriend who will be. There was no cheating. My brother is 20 and he's staying with me while he attends uni. He's heading into his final year where he'll be writing his dissertation. I own this 3-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom flat with a mortgage. The deal is that while my brother stays here, Dad pays the mortgage and I cover the expenses, both of which are about £500 a month. I told my brother about the baby a couple of months ago. He just sort of said, okay, and had no strong reaction, good or bad. I felt it was a little underwhelming, but didn't question it. A few hours later, he asked if he can still stay here when the baby comes, and I said of course he can, and that was it. About a month after that, he asked me about my childcare plans. I outlined my fairly comprehensive plan. He said that's good, because he's not helping out. I said I didn't expect him to. Then 2 nights ago, I finished up the nursery in the spare bedroom, though the baby probably won't be in there for at least a few months after the birth. Brother asked me what the nursery at my girlfriend's place looks like, and I responded that my girlfriend doesn't have a nursery at her place. My brother asked if that meant the baby would be here every night. I said that I'm the mother. Of course the baby will be here with me. My brother then went off on me, saying I should have made that clearer because this is going to mess up his studies. Evidently, he thought that as I spent about half my time at my girlfriend's place, this would continue, and me and the baby would also spend half our time at my girlfriend's place post-birth. I explained that as I am the birth mother and I'm the one with enough space for the baby will be staying here every night. My brother then said that's unreasonable. He's doing his dissertation. How do I expect him to sleep with a screaming baby in the flat, function on the daily, or bring girls back to the flat? He then said that I should move out because I'm the one moving a baby in. Never mind that I literally own the flat. At this point, I told him that this is my flat, and he could either stop being a brat and leave, or he could move out. But I'm not leaving my flat, and I'm not going to listen to him complain about free accommodation. He then told me to buzz off and went to bed. I saw him this morning, and he looked at me like he was waiting for something, but said nothing, so I kept quiet. Dad has since texted me saying that my brother told him everything, and while I was in the right for most of the conversation, I lost the high ground when I called him a brat, told him to buzz off, and rubbed the free accommodation in his face, and I should apologize for what I said. Am I the jerk? If yes, I'll apologize. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her brother? Please let us know. I think Uni Boy needs to find somewhere else to write his dissertation. So, my hair isn't acceptable? Let's see about that. This takes place in the early 2000s. I was working in a video/DVD rental store at the time and was only a couple of weeks into the job but was enjoying my time there. At the store was me, 2 managers, other guy working the register, and the regional manager for the area. I've always liked having a splash of color in my hair, and it had never been an issue with employment until this instance. At the time, I had my natural brunette hair short and spiked up with a blue patch at the front, which happened to be the same shade as our employee shirts, which pleased me. One day, a few weeks into the job, the regional manager walked in, a woman with a chip on her shoulder the size of her ego. She did her checks on how the store was running, etc., and was talking to me as I was the newest employee there, making sure I knew what I was doing and stuff. As she finishes up, she says offhand to me, "By the way, you'll have to take that color out of your hair. I want it gone before my next visit." This surprised me, as I'd read the employee handbook to make sure I was following all uniform guidelines and made sure it wasn't an issue with the 2 shop managers, so I asked her why I had to change my hair. She instantly got huffy and puffed out her chest and said, "Because I told you to. Are you questioning me?" Me. No, I was just wondering what guidelines I've broken, as I've read the employee and uniform regulations and didn't see anything about hair color in there, and want to be sure I haven't missed something. Regional manager. "Because I told you so, and it's an unnatural hair color. You'll have to get rid of it." That annoyed me, as I've never liked having to do something just because, so I told her. Well, other guy at the register has bleached tips. Manager 1 dyes her hair blonde, and Manager 2 has maroon hair. None of those are their natural colors, so I don't understand why I'm getting singled out. Regional manager did not like this, and since she couldn't give me an answer, just repeated, "Because I'm your boss, and I told you so. And if you don't want to change your hair, you can leave. I will be in next week, and I want that color gone." So I said, "I understand, I'll fix it, no worries. But just to be clear, so I'm in keeping with your guidelines, other guy, Manager 1, and Manager 2 have acceptable color and styles?" To which she said yes, and I asked, "And is my hairstyle okay? Did you want me to cut it a certain way or anything, or is it just the color?" She started getting annoyed again and said, "You can keep it like that. Just get rid of the color." So I confirmed that I would have it sorted before she came in next week, which seemed to satisfy the beast, and she walked off in a cloud of smugness at having laid down her law. As soon as she was out of the door, I told the shop managers what I was going to do, and they laughed, but said they'd have my back when she came in again. So my blue patch of hair had to go, no problem. Colored tips, dyed blonde hair, and maroon hair like the other staff had were all hunky-dory. So that weekend, I did all 3 to be on the safe side. I bleached all my hair near transparent blonde with maroon tips, spiked up in my usual style, as apparently that wasn't an issue. Well, turns out that that's not what the regional manager had in mind. Well, surprise. She came in the next week and lost it. Took me in the back with the 2 shop managers, shouting about how I was blatantly ignoring her and that she was going to see to it that I was fired. I acted innocent and surprised and said that I had checked with her that this would be okay before she left. My hairstyle was fine, colored tips on the other guy was fine, and she had confirmed that the maroon hair the shop manager had was fine. She was not backing down and assured me she'd report me to the head office for my disrespecting a regional manager like that. She stormed out of the shop on her merry way. So again, I told the two shop managers what I was going to do, which was get in touch with the head office's HR department myself, as I was following all written company regulations as well as the regional manager's arbitrary rules, and she seemed to be discriminating against me personally for whatever reason, and I would be pursuing unfair dismissal as there was no reason to fire me. I was good at my job and got on well with all the customers and staff. It was only the regional manager out to get me. So I did just that. Emailed the head office's HR saying what had happened, and the two shop managers also emailed on my behalf, backing up that I was following all guidelines, including the ones the regional manager made up, and that I was a model employee. For them anyways, but I liked them. And they would attest that I was being singled out and harassed by the regional manager if I got dismissed because of this. The next day, the shop managers called me in to say that HR had been in touch and that of course I wasn't going to be fired and there is no company guidelines for things like hair color and not to worry at all about it. Have my hair any way I wanted once it wasn't unkempt. Awesome, that's all I wanted. Happy ending. Now, let's do the super duper happy ending. Couple weeks later, the new regional manager walked in to introduce themselves. Turns out, I wasn't the only one having issues with the regional manager being on a power trip. After they had several complaints from staff and managers in different stores throughout the area, she was demoted to a regular store manager. I was the straw that broke their back, it seems. Have you ever had a manager single you out for something? If so, what did you do about it? Please let us know. I'm singling you out right now for forgetting to smash that like button. Don't be like that, bruh. Am I the jerk for telling my bro that he can only have my secret recipes if he pays me for them? So, my brother is a tech whiz. He developed an app for his daughter who just started kindergarten. It's customized for her, addresses her by her name, that sort of thing, to help her with her sight words and counting. This is not something he's planning to sell or anything, it was just a fun little project. Anyway, during a Zoom chat a little while ago, he had Niece show off all of the fun new skills she's learned thanks to his app. I was like, that's amazing, and asked if he could share it with me so I could get my own daughter using it. She'll be in kindergarten next year. He initially said no because it was customized for Niece. I asked how hard it would be to modify, but he said that's not the point. He said if I wanted a custom-built app, I'd have to pay for it. When I asked how much, he sent me a quote. Suffice to say, it was way more than I had expected. I asked if instead of making all the changes for me, could he just send me the source code so I could figure out how to customize it for my daughter on my own time? I'd never share it or sell it. He again told me no, saying it wasn't fair to ask him to hand over the end result of his hard work without appropriate compensation. Fine, fair. I accepted this and didn't bring it up again. Fast forward to a couple of weekends ago. We were having a socially distanced potluck at my parents' house. My mom asked for me to bring two specific dishes, a main and a dessert, which are kind of family favorites that I have made for many gatherings in the past. These are both recipes I've spent years perfecting and include ingredients/techniques that aren't found in any of the generic recipes I found online. Anyways, sister-in-law was raving about my dishes, saying she even tried to recreate them at home the last time she had had them, but couldn't get it to come out right. Bro then asked if I would email him my specific recipes. Here's where bro thinks I became the jerk. I said I'd have to work out how much they were worth. When he asked what I meant, I said, "It's not fair to ask me to hand over the end result of my hard work without appropriate compensation." Well, he got mad and started calling me petty and saying the two situations are entirely different. I said, I don't see how. A recipe is just a way to program food to taste a specific way. He just kept insisting it was different. Eventually, sister-in-law convinced him that it wasn't worth it, but things were a bit tense between us for the rest of the day, and he's been really short with me ever since. Every time we talk, he makes some kind of comment about it. He likes to be right. The last time we spoke, he brought up that source code is copyrightable, but recipes aren't, which proves it's different. I just said, all the more reason not to share them then. But I'm beginning to wonder, is it different? Am I the jerk here? Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his brother? Please let us know. I just want to know what those recipes were. It sounded really good. Karen threatens to call the police for a pet hotel keeping her dog from her. I work at a dog hotel that caters to wealthier clientele. And since I'm a canine caretaker, I feed/walk/train/give medicines to the dogs and don't deal so much with people, which I'm very grateful for. Still, there are times when I bring a dog to clients who then turn out to be entitled Karens or Kins. Not much fun when they act stuck up and arrogant, right? Well, here's a story about the night shift yesterday at work that gets interesting. I was taking a poodle mix named Curly out for a walk, and I got a call on my walkie saying that Curly's owner was waiting to pick him up. It's hotel policy to take the dogs out to go before they've returned to their owners. This entitled Karen didn't get the memo, so when I passed in the hall with Curly heading outside, she was shrieking so loudly that I could hear her through two closed-door hallway sections. In the hotel, each hall is blocked by doors, so if a dog escapes one of the suite rooms, they'll still be partially contained. Anyway, Curly did his business, and we were headed to the lobby and to Karen. Her conversation was recorded on security cameras, so our conversation went like this. Karen: I want my dog. Give me my fur baby. Come here, Curly. Karen storms into the building, even though no one's allowed in without a mask or permission, which of course she had neither. Karen: Curly, my baby boy. Receptionist: Ma'am, you can't be in here. The canine caretakers take your dog outside to you. Shut up and give me my dog. Receptionist: Do you have a leash? It's hotel policy. The dogs can't go without... No, I don't have a leash. Give yours to me. Referring to me. Me: I'm sorry, ma'am, but this is my leash. If you'd like a leash, I'll get you one of our spares. No, I want yours. Ma'am, please don't yell. I'd hate to have Curly feel anxious. Then give me your leash. I'm sorry. No. Fine then. I'll just take my dog and go. Don't expect me to do business with you again. Me gives Curly to Karen. Me realizing my mistake. Ma'am, it's hotel policy that we can't let dogs leave here without a leash or harness. I'd still be happy to get you a spare if you'd like. Karen: Just give me my dog. I don't have time for this bull or for you, B. Me getting sarcastic. But Curly is a boy, ma'am. How can he be the B? I knew I could have gotten fired over this, but it was a worth it comment. Karen: If you don't give me my dog, then I'll sue you for keeping him from me. This is illegal. I'll have you in court. By now, one of my coworkers was running to Karen and me with one of our spare leashes and gave it to her. She yelled at us several times, but left and swore never to do business with us again. We have Karens and Kens like this all the time who say they'll never come back to the pet hotel again. After the Karen left, my manager came up to me and told me I had some courage. Then this morning, he texted me and said that Karen came back with Curly because she had to go to the city and Curly couldn't go with her. All she requested, in colorful terms, was that I know what I did. Yes, Karen, I know what I did. Followed hotel policy and dealt with an entitled Karen I hope to never see again. I know I will have to, eventually, but today's my day off, so I'm enjoying it. Speaking of dogs, do any of you have a dog? And if so, what kind? Please let us know. My poodle is better than yours. Am I the jerk for telling my wife I won't give her an allowance every month? Me, male 23, and my wife, female 22, got married 2 months ago. She moved 100 miles away from her family and friends to live with me in my city. We live in a 3-bedroom, new-build home with a nice spacious garden. My wife currently has no job since she left hers to live with me. She's been having a very hard time finding a job since everything that's been going on. I work full-time and earn £3,000 a month. I also rent out a property of my father's, which covers our rent for our new home. I pay for the groceries and anything the house needs. She covers the car insurance, Wi-Fi, and her own bills with her savings. I must say, my wife is a very good stay-at-home wife. She cooks very nice meals and bakes these amazing cakes for me every few days. She makes me pancakes in the mornings, as hers are honestly the best I've ever had, and she makes sure my lunch is packed and dinner is on the table when I get home. Also, the house is spotless. Last night, she expressed to me how she was running low on her savings. I cover literally everything, so I'm not too sure what she spends her money on. Anyways, she told me she would like £100 a month so she can use it for her creams she applies at night or just so she can get her nails done and use it to feel nice. I told her I won't be giving her any allowance, and if she needs anything like her nails done or her creams, to just ask me instead and I'll transfer her the amount. She got into a mood because I said no, but I reminded her how I'm the one who's covering everything anyways, and how I don't even want her to work because she doesn't need to. Am I the jerk for refusing her request? Because she did get into a mood the entire evening and acted just off. Well, what do you think? Is OP a jerk or not? Please let us know. Bruh. Am I the jerk for being upset about my boyfriend's mom kicking me out because I cried in front of his family? My boyfriend, who's 23, and I, who am 21, have been together for 3 years now. I've been aware for a while that his mom doesn't like me and has had her concerns, as she puts it, about our relationship. I'm not entirely sure why, and my boyfriend doesn't understand why either. Currently, my boyfriend is living at home with his parents, and I'm doing the same as we both graduated college in May and are working on moving out. He invited me to come over Labor Day weekend to spend time with him. His family, which consists of his mom, dad, sister, and brother-in-law, spent most of the day teasing me and making fun of me over almost anything I said or did. Like, they wanted to go outside and throw a frisbee, and I have horrible aim, so they kept mocking me. His dad even threw a frisbee from a position where I couldn't see him with the intention of hitting me with it because he knew I wasn't paying attention. I didn't think it was funny, but I played along. Then before dinner, they decided to play a game. It's a card game, and there are ways to get people out in the game early on, and they can't play again until the next round. His family thought it would be funny to mess with me. The entire game, I was targeted to the point where I was the only one with no points, and I barely even got to play during every round. Even when it would make more strategic sense to play on someone else who was close to winning, they would play on me. One of his family members even said that it was fun to watch me lose. They were also making fun of me for any mistake in the game I made, when I've played only a few times before. At that point, it was getting to me, and after I made another mistake and they all started laughing at me, I started crying because I was embarrassed and then excused myself. When my boyfriend came to talk to me, he told me that his mom wanted me to leave because she wasn't going to deal with this. She also told him that he should break up with me because I'm too sensitive, and if I can't take a joke, I can't be part of their family. I explained to him why I was upset, and he understood, but he couldn't go against his mom. I cried for a while and grabbed my things, but before I left, I went to go apologize to his mom for making a scene. His mom told me she thinks I'm bad for him. I'm weak. She can't ever see me as a mother or a wife, and I ruin everything when I'm around. I even asked his mom what I had done to make her feel that way about me, but she couldn't answer the question. I didn't know what to say, so I just stayed quiet and left when she was done. My boyfriend then told me he needs a few days to think about things because he wants to be with someone who perfectly meshes with his family like his brother-in-law. I'm devastated, and I feel like it's my fault for getting upset, but I also feel like his mom's reaction crossed a line. So Reddit, am I the jerk? Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her boyfriend's mom? Please let us know.
I think the boyfriend is the biggest jerk of them all. How you gonna let your mama treat her like that, bruh?
I made my boss retire and took her lab equipment as a trophy. I'm a second-year graduate student going for a PhD in biochemistry. As such, I'm simultaneously both a student and government employee working for my university as a researcher. The way my program is laid out, you take a general course for the first semester, then rotate into 3 or more labs, doing work for and learning techniques from the professors running said labs for a few months before moving on. After your third rotation in a lab, you're allowed to join the lab permanently as you work on your thesis project. As far as my circumstances went, I didn't like my first lab. Everyone had a thick Chinese accent that made it hard to really hear what the professor/lab techs were saying, although they were great people. The second lab didn't have funding to pay me as a grad student, leaving me with my third rotation lab. I opted to join that lab as the project seemed extremely interesting and was in neuroscience, meaning I would be able to learn techniques others in my program would not, and I was very interested by that prospect. About a week after joining, the head of the biochemistry department reached out to me. Apparently, the older students I know had gone to him with concerns about the professor I would be working with, so he started digging. Apparently, the neuro and molecular medicine programs no longer allow her to take graduate students from their programs at all because she was known for having fits, throwing tantrums, throwing things, and being an all-around jerk in general. I later found out that she was read the Riot Act on multiple occasions and tried to deny maternity leave to a pregnant student from one of the programs, which later blacklisted her because she couldn't understand why a student, who was about 28 at the time, would get pregnant. Just to give you some context for her demeanor. I was concerned by the rumors, but it seemed to be a stark contrast to the person I was working with. Boy, was I wrong about that. I was told to watch out and keep the department in the loop. Fast forward a few months, and progress has slowed to a crawl. The project I had been working on turned out to be wrong, and the preliminary data was done by an undergraduate student who, upon revisiting the lab, couldn't replicate her own results because she messed up her data a bit to seem better so she could get out of the lab faster. Fast forward again, and communication between my boss and I have broken down. Every email I receive has text in bold, italicized, and underlined font to get it clearly across that she was talking down to me. She no longer offers me help, stating that she doesn't have time for me, but whenever something goes wrong or doesn't work, I'd be asked, "Why didn't you ask for help?" She was hypocritical or self-contradicting on most points, however it best suited her at the time. I found myself walking much more quickly past her office to avoid eye contact and the hour-and-a-half-long lectures/rants that would normally follow. Worked later hours to enjoy the peace and quiet of night. One project I was working on involved injecting lentivirus, an HIV-based agent used essentially as a molecular syringe to get cells to express whatever DNA we wanted them to into the brains of mice, which were either a disease model or a control model. I won't go into detail here, but essentially I had to do practice runs before we spent thousands of dollars on disease model mice and ultra-pure lentivirus. These practices were carried out flawlessly, and I showed my boss exactly where I had injected the mice. Again, I won't go into the details. However, every time I showed her where I had injected the practice solution, which was fluorescent, she would say,
"That's not the region of the brain you're supposed to be injecting. I want the CA1 region of the hippocampus."
Unbeknownst to me, this jerk had no idea what that region of the brain looked like and was looking for the wrong part of the brain. She worked in the neuro department, gave me the coordinates to inject into this region herself, and worked alongside labs that specialized in this. After we had well exceeded the amount of practice surgeries permitted in her grant, I realized that she was an idiot and showed her a mouse atlas, highlighting the area of the brain to be injected, and showed her a side-by-side image comparison to my real injections. Furthermore, the atlas had coordinates that showed you that my injections were as accurate as possible. After a bit of stammering, she brought me outside and pointed to a poster on the wall.
"I wanted you to do this injection. Why didn't you inject this?"
She was pointing at a different, further forward region of the brain. I showed her the coordinates she herself had provided me with for the surgery and told her, "Because you didn't tell me to." By this point, we had 1 week until the actual surgeries were to be done. In a panic, my boss told me to do a practice run with brand new coordinates. This was crappy, because it took me a week just to find out if the coordinates worked or not, and if they didn't, I wouldn't be able to test any corrections before the surgery. Additionally, she had apparently put off mandatory veterinary training and demanded that I do the new coordinate surgery in front of a vet, who, if he had a problem with my techniques, be it with the animal or with sterility of my tools, would not allow me to do the surgery and would effectively end my project. While this wouldn't normally be a problem, my crappy boss was using a neighboring lab's equipment which I had no way of cleaning or sterilizing prior to the surgery. Everything rested on the other lab. Through some miracle, everything in the surgery suite was up to standards. Filters had just been replaced, the place had just been swept, trash removed, and the equipment was recently autoclaved. I got a pass from the vet on my technique, but was told that I couldn't do the surgery for safety reasons. I would have to do it in a more controlled environment with more personal protective gear if I was using lentivirus, which again was impossible since we were borrowing another lab's equipment which couldn't be moved. After some discussion, I'm told by my boss to just throw on a respirator and do the surgery anyways. The day of the surgery comes. I'm ready. I anesthetize, knock out 2 of the mice, and start the surgery. About half an hour into the surgery, I noticed that they've both stopped breathing. This had never happened before. I grabbed the neighboring lab staff to help, and they tried to resuscitate the mice with an adapted form of CPR, but it was no use. They were gone. After 30 practice mice injected this way ended up just fine, these expensive mice had died. I would just like to point out that I have never before, nor have I since, lost an animal during surgery. There's one thing I haven't mentioned yet. These mice were supposed to be anesthetized with a drug mixture injection, but since my boss never got the license to obtain that mixture, she disobeyed her approved protocol and had us use other means of anesthetizing the mice. It turns out that this particular line of mice was exceptionally fragile and wouldn't be able to live under our method of anesthesia. However, we were collaborating with another lab which was doing half of the surgeries for us. This lab had the license to obtain and use the mixture. Those mice survived. Due to the disparity between their success and our failure, I'm pointed out as the problem, despite my arguments. Fast forward a few months, and my boss and I both arrive at the conclusion that neither of us wants me there anymore. I go to the head of the biochemistry department and tell the biochem head about my decision. He asks me what happened, and I said it just didn't work out. I was still trying to just drop it and let the whole thing just slip into the past. However, it turns out my boss had been angrily writing him behind my back for months about everything that she didn't like. He was extremely tired of it. I was outraged by the fact that instead of talking with me about these things like an adult, she went behind my back to my department head. But what really upset me is that she was also apparently spreading lies about me to the head of my department, hoping she could get me kicked out of the graduate school so her reputation wouldn't get tarnished further and she would continue to take students from my department. After this essay of exposition, cue the revenge. The head of the biochemistry department just set me down, told me that he would give me a list of grievances levied against me by my boss, and asked me to address them in a formal letter which would be sent in to a governing committee, which would deliberate on what course of action the department should take with me leaving the lab. The letter included lies that I would have to disprove. This was easily done, and I was able to cite witnesses as well. Blamed me for the deaths of the expensive animals and wasting the lentivirus, and several other points. I took my time writing a rebuttal letter. After approximately 24 pages, I was satisfied with my work. I outlined how the premise for my project was based on falsified data, how my boss ignored her IACUC-approved surgery protocol for convenience, which actually led to the deaths of the animals, appended with an email from the veterinarian regarding this to support my claim, how my boss unnecessarily used animals for training surgeries beyond 3 times the allowed amount in her protocol solely because she couldn't even identify the region she wanted me to inject, how she would constantly harass, threaten, and demean me with witnesses from the neighboring labs cited, how she would constantly forget even talking to me about things and claim that I was lying about things she witnessed. I honestly think she had Alzheimer's, but the neighboring lab thinks it's a form of traumatic brain injury. I even included a note to EHS, the safety department, about the breach in safety protocol regarding use of lentivirus without proper airflow control and without proper personal protective equipment. Every single documented safety violation, protocol violation, harassment, or threat was included in my letter. I didn't hear back from the head of the department, but word got around fast through the department, even though it was supposed to be secret. The professor was blacklisted from the university as a whole and could no longer take on students from any program, meaning she could only hire lab techs and postdocs. Additionally, the only other person in her lab who basically carried the lab and knew everything just left today. With that, the lab has officially been retired. My old boss is no longer with the university, and I even got to enjoy going through her lab equipment to appropriate for my new lab, since it was all technically property of the university. It was the greatest feeling of satisfaction I've ever had.
Please come watch this video next, you will love it. And if you join as a channel member today, we'll give you a special shout out on our next video. And to have us make any kind of video you want us to, come visit us on Fiverr, link pinned in the comments below.